As documented on this channel, my ZX81 game Caverns was never quite finished on the ZX81 original hardware. And as a very long-term project, I've been rebuilding the game in Z80 on the Spectrum next, and porting that back to the ZX81. In my last update, I was working on the dwarves and trying to get their logic working, similar to the TypeScript version. This algorithm is better than the original ZX81 code I wrote back in the day, so if I do get it working, the rebuilt game will work better than the original. The game has been fully playable as a TypeScript game on the zxgaming.co.uk website for a number of years. So for anyone who wants to see and play the game on the web, it has been available for quite some time. But going further back into the early 2000s, the first fully working version of the game was as a PC remake. As the game was written for PCs and the version of Windows of that time, eventually with newer versions of Windows, the PC remake became unplayable on the later software. It was written in Delphi and submitted to Retro Remakes, a great website at the time that covered all the remakes people were working on of earlier games. Sadly no longer there in its original form. While finishing the Z80 version of the game could take several continuous weeks of coding, and I'm only managing a day or so a year on it, a side project could be to get the PC version of the game working again. This might not take long and could be something I could do in a couple of hours. In a previous video I looked at Free Pascal and Lazarus and getting an old PC remake of Michael Orwin's brilliant ZX81 game Fungaloids working with them. I loaded the old Caverns Delphi files into Lazarus and Free Pascal and ran the converter to get the game in the Lazarus format. First I had the path issue I'd had with the Fungaloids game, and I had to fix this to get the resources to load. Then I tweaked the code to run individual screens, to use more obvious keys to start the game on a single screen. The original PC version of the game had a facility built into it to edit the screens, as this was how I created the screens. I didn't need this feature now, so I turned it off. Then, because the game window had been written for the resolution of PCs back in the early 2000s, I doubled the size of the characters and in doing so doubled the size of the game on the screen. Now it was playable at 1080p, which is all I use. One day I might need to increase the size again to 4K, but that's okay for now. So with these few changes I was able to get the old PC remake version of the Caverns game from over 20 years ago running on a modern PC. I've made the executable file for this available on GitHub. I'll link the web address for this below. While I was doing this, I increased the size of the characters for the PC version of Fungaloids also, so this is playable at 1080p and is also available on GitHub. But as Lazarus and Free Pascal are cross-platform, I thought why stop there. I loaded the games up into Linux versions of these, and fingers crossed tried to run them. Sadly they didn't run up, and even with a small amount of feckling I haven't got either to run in Linux. So while it would have been cool to get the games running on another new platform, that for now isn't happening. So I think my attention now will return to the Z80 version of the Caverns code and see if I can make some progress with that. Hopefully I can find some time this winter. And as this channel was largely inspired by the Spectrum Next, here's an update of progress on the ZX81 keyboard for the next ZX81 core coming in Kickstarter 3. I'm halfway through doing the keys and it should be ready for the Kickstarter 3's possible arrival in December. Hope that was interesting and thanks for watching.